Welcome to The World Today. I'm Waqas Majeed Khan. Today we're going to talk about a number of things, and among those we will talk about Khwaja Asif's statement, which is that we need to put our house in order. What exactly he means by that we'll try to decipher, and how are we going to achieve that goal, we'll talk about that. And we've also seen a rise in extremism in educational institutions. Where is the National Action Plan? We'll discuss that. And also means and ways of preventing the youth from falling into the extremists' hands. We'll also talk about the Ansarul Sharia, a new organization that has come on the fore, and that is going to be banned soon, according to Mr. Ehsan Iqbal, the Interior Minister. And before we discuss all of that, the court has returned 3 of the 4 NAB references against Mian Nawaz Sharif in the Panama case, and we will start with that. We have our correspondent Ali Andaz on the line to give us the details regarding that particular case. Thank you for joining us, Ali. Can you please give us the details regarding the Panama case and the return of the references?
Yes, Waqas, the hearing of review petitions filed by former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, his children, Captain Safdar, and Finance Minister Sardar is currently underway in the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Today, the counsel for Nawaz Sharif, Khwaja Haris, concluded his arguments, which were mainly based on 3 questions. Number 1 was the constitution of the 5-member bench, which issued the final order of 28 July. Then he came to Article 62(1)(f), under which he was disqualified. According to Khwaja Asif, it is unprecedented that a parliamentarian has been disqualified for non-disclosure of his assets under Article 62(1)(f), which, according to Khwaja Haris, is really extreme, because it renders a lifetime ban on the parliamentarian to hold a public office. According to Khwaja Haris, there are certain provisions given under ROPA which deals with those who hold public office and do not disclose their assets. However, the bench differed on this opinion, because according to the bench, according to Justice Jafar Khan, Justice Khosa, the presence of written agreement and entitlement to the salary renders the argument by Khwaja Haris that there was no intention on behalf of Nawaz Sharif to withdraw salary. It doesn't matter whether he withdraw that salary or not, because the agreement is there. Secondly, he also questioned certain directions which have been issued to the National Accountability Bureau and Trial Court in the 28 July verdict. According to Khwaja Haris, the time frame given to the NAB and the Accountability Court is unfair, because according to Khwaja Haris, this involves financial matters, and these financial issues, these cases require a lot of time for investigation and trial. However, the bench assured the petitioner that the extension will be given wherever it is needed. He also questioned the filing of the reference by the NAB based on the incomplete report of a joint investigation team. Well, according to the bench, in the verdict, the judges have not declared the GIT report as the gospel truth, and the shortcomings in that report can be used by the petitioner, by Nawaz Sharif and his children, to their benefit when the matter goes into the trial court. And then he also questioned the appointment of the monitoring judge, which in this case, Justice Ejazul Hassan has been appointed as a monitoring judge to monitor the filing of references and the trial. According to Khwaja Haris, this will prejudice the trial and the investigation. However, the bench also appeared to disagree on this issue as well, because there have been certain instances where monitoring judges have been appointed and they have supervised the investigation as well as the trial. At rest, the bench assured the petitioner that the trial in the Accountability Court will not be prejudiced, and there is nothing unusual regarding the appointment of a monitoring judge and the directions given to the NAB. Another major issue that involves the 28 July verdict is the wording and the praise showered by the Supreme Court of Pakistan on the GIT report and the members. According to Khwaja Haris, during the course of the trial, he has to attack the JIT members, the way they conducted the investigation, the way they acquired the documents, but the wording, the phrase used by the Supreme Court of Pakistan in the 28 July verdict has preempted his line of defense, which he was going to use in the trial court. The counsel for Finance Minister Shahid Hamid also concluded his arguments, which were more or less based on the same points of Khwaja Haris. However, during the course of his arguments, he tried to digress on the facts of the case, when he was warned, rather strictly warned by the judges not to go not to tread on this dangerous road, which might force the bench to make some negative remarks about his client. Tomorrow, Salman Akram Raja, who represents the children of the Prime Minister, will begin his argument, and hopefully he will conclude his arguments by tomorrow, and these proceedings may come to an end tomorrow. Yes, Waqas.
Thank you very much for that detailed update. Ali Andaz, our correspondent, reporting on the goings-on in the case against the Sharifs. Now, moving on to the topic for our discussion, we spoke about the Ansarul Sharia, a new organization that has come on the front, and that will be banned soon, according to Ehsan Iqbal. And also we'll talk about the National Action Plan and getting our own house in order, as Khaja Asif has also mentioned. Now, to talk about these things, let me introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me today, we have Rana Ather Javeed. He is the DG of Pakistan House, and along with him, we have Dr. Nasarullah Mirza. He's the head of department at the Defense and Strategic Studies in the Quaid-e-Azam University. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Rana Sahab, starting with you. First of all, something new has come up, and apparently this Ansarul Sharia, new organization which is to be banned, according to the Interior Minister, Ehsan Iqbal. What do you make of it, sir?
To be honest, what the initial information is, the people who were, there are around 10 to 11 people, they are saying that those who actually, most of them were returned from the Western capitals. They had their education there, PhDs or MPhils or education in different areas, and they somehow got radicalized there. And on number of reasons, of course, as we all know, the international reasons, the conflicts, Iraq, Syria, now Rohingya, and then many other conflicts, including Kashmir. So, of course, it happens as always that it's very unfortunate because of the lack of understanding of our own religion. You fall in the trap of the extremist, and especially extremists operating in the Western capitals. I can assure you they are much more sophisticated, and they have a very coherent and concerted framework of recruiting people from the soft countries. When I say soft countries, it doesn't mean that our society is overall jammed mentally and they do not understand. The issue is that somehow our youngsters, even studying in a high education with a very track record and with all these English mediums, we still fail to understand the dynamics and the complexity of the international conflicts. Thereby, this Ansarul Sharia actually basically is just a name, to be honest, for me, in another database, adding up with hundreds of names. We already had them. But one thing is common in those names are that they have launched, somebody have launched them, and which I'm actually very much concerned that, because when the foreign recruitment system involves, it doesn't care about our people, our society, or our coherence in our society, the tolerance what is required after so many years of fighting. And secondly, the problem with this kind of organization emerging is that it takes, it's kind of a copycat model actually, if I have to look into the framework of assessment, that the few like-minded so-called people get together and maybe they are all contagious and they try to develop their own punitive system of punishment to those who they think are not on their frequency of thinking. So I think it's a sort of dangerous, but at the same time I would like to caution on one thing, that the way our media reported actually, not the PTV word of course, but the private media reported that our institutions, in generic sense, our private institution and our universities, top universities, being radicalized. I would not agree with that, because then it affects when students from these universities seek to go abroad for studies, they're already stigmatized. And we understand there are problems, and nobody is denying it. There should be no second opinion on this, that we have a problem, and we are trying to resolve it with the hardcore operational IBOs and other things. But then we have a problem of the software that cannot be solved by completely a blanket statements or allegations, because it will discourage. Then it will, first we had madrasas, as you know, on the target we were saying that all madrasas, then even the Western sources analyzed and characterized. No, it's not the case. But I still think there are really dire needs of reforms. Curriculum is a very small component. It is about the teachers. You know, we have to go from the other angle.
I think it's much deeper than that as well, Rana Saab. It's about the abuse, or rather the mixing of religion with politics and economics, which basically converts people into
totally
dynamic individuals of society who then cause chaos in terms of what they feel they should be doing.
I totally subscribe to this 100%.
Let's move on to Nasarullah.
I think you have actually literally exactly this is the main argument. A combination of financial and abusive system developed parallel to the actual system.
Absolutely, sir. And then when we see the lack of social justice and social injustices that are spreading in society,
Absolutely.
then people become reactive, and therefore those things start emerging in our society.
I agree.
So we need to actually be very serious about tackling this issue, and that is where most of our effort and most of our thought should be focused towards. Nasarullah Saab, you are from an academic background. Khaja Asif Saab's statement about we need to put our own house in order, and especially when Rana Saab was also mentioning about the perception that radicalization is increasing in all educational institutions, universities. So how do you see this problem, and in your own experience, have you seen these issues, have you dealt with them, and what would be your observations, and what solutions would you like to offer?
The statement given by Khaja Asif that we should also look into our house and place that into order, I think that's a general statement, not to specifically focusing on that area, because there are many issues which really we have to tackle for that. But if we talk about in terms of foreign policy issues and related to whatever our forces are doing on that, and politically whatever we have decided to do against the terrorism and eliminate that, there are efforts are required, no doubt, more efforts are required. But generally saying that our house is not in order, therefore we are not internationally showing that ability itself, but that is a perception which has been developed internationally. And how that perception can be tackled, I think media is the major part and role has to play in that area, in which Pakistan is very much weak, I think, comparative to the international media, the other media, the lobbyist media and all that. And that is required, the perception is required to be corrected. How that is possible is really required a multifaceted strategy to look into. Our National Action Plan was one of the comprehensive plan, but unfortunately, comprehensively it has been not covered. Hardly some aspect are the focus, and other aspects are still not focused because there are political vociferous forces, and they may diverge on that. And that is the area where we should focus on that, and we should comprehensively cover that. That required political will, as well as all other mechanisms which may be established in terms of what we are talking about, the economics. Instability economics and weakness and poor people and poverty is going on the rise, rather, not reducing in Pakistan. Economic factor which linked up, as have said, there's a nexus between economics and political and other forces, and the people are lured to that type of tendencies. Ather Sahab has said very well that really those are people who are radicalized outside, not within Pakistan. But maybe there are same type of tendencies here too.
Of course, there are many. I was saying that they are
But
becoming dangerous in terms of international conflicts.
Right.
But looking at the universities, because the university curricula is a little bit different, because most often the focus is on the subject. Higher education is related to subject. We are not going to really enhance and promote personalities and morals and all that, because that is required at the primary and tertiary language.
Absolutely,
levels.
sir. That's a very good point that
And
you've
that
raised.
is the area where
that,
we are not focusing.
where when you are talking about the grooming of an individual who is supposed to grow up to be a productive citizen in a society, that grooming, that teaching, that training has to start at the primary level. And unfortunately, the state of our primary education
It's in
is...
flux.
What would you like to say about that, Nasarullah Sahab? You are an academician. Let's talk about the state of primary education in our country.
State of primary education in our country, we can look into the school system we have. The first thing, the various type of school system, which may cater for various segments of society, and the levels of all that based on economics and social background and all that. I think there should be a uniform system of education under the state. Maybe private sector should also come up, but public-private partnership is required. Not the private only given all the...
What you're trying to say is, what I understand, is that the quality of primary education needs to be raised in Pakistan, and that too on a war front, because it is the quality of the education which is the problem over here.
Yeah, quality of the education and quantity also, in horizontal also, because a lot of people who are out of really school.
That's right.
At the age of school going age, they are out of school because there is no facilities, and state is not catering for that. So private sector came front, and they are maximizing their profit and all that.
And that is again a problem, sir, because these private schools that are charging exorbitant fees from parents, what kind of an education are they really giving?
And the similar happened in terms of universities. Various private universities, the mushroom growth of private universities, what actually they are doing.
So now education has become a money-making gimmick or a business in our
I
country,
think
unfortunately,
education
like everything else.
should be the first priority of the state and responsibility of the state. As education, health and basic facilities, education is the top.
And they have to be free.
It had to be free.
They have to be free. There is no way.
World over, we are looking into
the most rich countries give them free education. They are not afraid of becoming a poor state.
Into whatever allocation we are doing for the education. Not to figure out really.
Khaja Asif Saab says that we need to put our own house in order. I think that's one of the first steps that need to be taken in order to put our own house in order, which he has so adamantly insisted on. So the first step is to actually restructure and reform our primary educational system in the country.
Absolutely.
Rana Sahib, in your opinion, we've been talking about this issue for quite some time, but we haven't really seen any progress being made by the powers that be on this very, very important issue. Every time we talk about militancy, we talk about extremism, military action, it comes down to implementing the most important aspect of the National Action Plan, which is to change the hearts and minds of our citizens to become productive and have positive attitudes for social development. We're completely lacking there, don't you think? So what needs to be done?
First of all, I would say we have a very big problem about who is handling the subject. The people who are handling the subject are politicians. I respect all politicians. They have won the public confidence to come in the parliament. But the problem is, you have to do a job for that. And for that, across the board, they should be unanimous in at least serving one important factor to this country. We are not getting politicizing to health issue and education. Today they decide to change and transform systems. Believe me, there is no in this country or section of the society which will oppose them. Absolutely not. According to my perception and knowledge as well.
Or belief.
Or belief. Yes, we can say belief, yes, absolutely, which is much stronger than the knowledge. Actually, this is what they have never touched these areas.
Why is that so, sir?
Because, first of all, the expression of the privileged class grew exactly the way the middle class has gone down, because the speed of the going down of this, nosedive of the middle class has comparatively should have affected the lower middle class. It has actually benefited the elite. That is why the divide, as you indicated rightfully, the social divide, the combination of factors, a double master's or a PhD is walking around with applications, applying to an administrator office in under 16, 15 grade in police stations or foreign office or otherwise, or in university as a assistant superintendent job, is pathetic. Because of the situation that those who are privileged, they really can acquire whatever is the requirement for their family members. Until and unless they change that, they are the one, and it is across the board, all parties. They will continue with their mudslinging and all these opposition. They should continue that. We are not saying there should not be a politicking. Fine. But these two factors will determine the fate of our national security. Because if a system is dissolved or diluted because of the inadequacy or incompetency, that cannot be recovered by only making things on the papers. It will never happen. The forces required, those who are in control, those who make the authority, those who have the funding, those who allocate, these are the politicians. There is no establishment involved in this, there is a bureaucracy involved in it. That civil bureaucracy must, like in 50s, 60s, they were adamant to build the country. The new generation of civil bureaucrats must rebuild that system, because the 70s and the 60s system was top of the line. It was contesting the most developed countries of the world.
Well, you could say that if we look at a historical trajectory of Pakistan since independence, sir, we can see from 1947 up to the 1979, you would say, because that's what you're also mentioning, from
Absolutely.
the 60s and the 70s.
Absolutely.
So right up to 1979, we saw that Pakistan's graph or trajectory was going up, and all the social indicators were on the increasing or the upper or moving.
And we were
towards-
respected throughout the world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Then something happened, sir. After 1979, something happened. And today, where we find ourselves fighting terrorism and not being even appreciated for our role in fighting terrorism, in fact, being denigrated furthermore and being asked to do more over and over again, where is it? What is the problem, sir? Where is the missing link between 1979 and 2017?
You said something in your intro which I actually appreciated a lot, because you're very candid in your expression. You said that the explosive recipe of religion and politics in governance, that is very dangerous.
Yes, sir.
Because for the nation state to become a real nation state, it is a requirement by default that it has to be separated. Because if an accountability of individual Muslim by Quran and Islam being described exactly will be done accordingly by an individual by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I do not see any other reason to enforce something which Quran has not set. This is very, very important. That's why I said that the problem is that we do not understand our own religion because of the language, A, B, because of we are naive, lazy, because we want half-cooked, and somebody cook for you the idea and give it to you, so you will chew it as if it is yours. The second important factor which I really completely, I would say, disgusts me is, sorry to use this hard word, but disgusts me, is that when we see really in front of us all the powerful politicians, all these people, they know that this is very dangerous what they are doing. They know that this system cannot survive for long. Still they bet on everything on Allah's will. They say, inshallah it will happen. Well, Allah says that you have to do it. You have to do, you will have whatever you have endeavored for. So the basic idea of combining religion with the governance is wrong. I'm not saying democracy at all, because that system is not really perfect. That system in the West, we have seen that those who came and for governing, in the case of Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and in our case, doing injustice politically, international security wise, we are being really, really targeted, because the way we go to so many places and see without a reason. You know, you have to have a sane mind to give a proof against Pakistan.
Right.
Well, we will take the proof.
All right, so we'll come back to that point later on, but there's another aspect that I also want to discuss with Nasarullah Sahab, because he mentioned it. Sir, you talked about the role of the media, and in your opinion, sir, raising the intellect of the masses is also the job of the media. How far or how effective do you think our media is in addressing this issue, or addressing the psyche of our masses and raising their intellectual level, rather than creating the kind of programming that actually damages their brains and makes them redundant human beings because of the kind of content that we are bombarded with on our TV screens every day? So I think that is also a very important thing that we should mention. In your opinion, sir, what can be done about that?
Really, that is a bigger issue. And that is the issue related to media, because that is how things are being projected to the media that give really a wrong impression, generally, internationally, nationally also, and among the public. What is required actually? The requirement is to really set the goal. What are the objectives of the media? What actually required for the national security and nation build-up of the nation by the media? No media is focusing on that, on those core issues. Media is talking about whatever is coming up in terms of dynamics of events, and that is being projected.
Not only that, sir, but also the fact that we are in Pakistan, the entire, in fact, I would say, masses is fed by Indian media. The kind of love that the Pakistani masses have for Indian television and film content is unbelievable.
It's remarkably embarrassing.
But then you see, sir, there is a reason for that, because in our own country, where the kind of investment in terms of intellect, in terms of money, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of
soft power, yeah.
So that was never done. So what option did the people of Pakistan have but to look towards...
for the entertainment, yeah, they have to look around.
And it's not just entertainment, because when you see television and films, they are actually dealing with you on a subconscious level, and they are tools that are used by those who know how to use them to raise the intellectual level of the masses. Why wasn't that ever done in our country, sir?
I think it is because, as I said, from the start, from 79 to onwards, you look at our own dramas, even 1980s, 70s, they were so powerful. Even one of the dramas I used to read myself about Waris drama.
Yes, sir, right up till then, they used to teach Pakistani
jam all
drama
the traffic
in India.
Yes, because they allowed it. There is another problem. It's not that we do not have that kind of actors or story makers. It's not like that.
And it's across the board, sir, because we haven't seen the promotion of the arts and culture, whether it's painting,
it's
poetry.
All
these things are really important for the health of a society, and we see in our society that these are completely ignored.
You know what I felt actually past 2 decades? I felt that in our times we had cricket grounds, and we used to go out, and there were
same situation with the sports.
Same with the sports, and now the grounds are vanished totally.
Yeah, they are shopping malls.
They're shopping malls, and the sad thing is that it's like, being entertained by a play or something is so sinful, and art, it has been demonized in a way that this is a luxury, and according to the idea, you should not have it. Well, we do not have that luxury, but we do not have the real religion as well. Well, that's a dilemma. It's really problematic.
It is, isn't
that
it?
For the cause of the sacrificing, if somebody promoted the idea in a society, forget about these things. These things do not matter. Concentrate on this one. A human mind cannot conceive more than 45 minutes. Their attention expires. They need a break.
Well, you remember that quote by Winston Churchill, sir, when during the war, when they said that we must cut down the funding for the arts projects and for painting and the rest of it. So then Winston Churchill remarked, then why are we fighting this war?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why isn't that understood by,
because
by everybody else? You know, what was he talking about?
As I said, it's a paralysis of that intellectual or the creative capacity. As you said, that people are being programmed by sheer bombardment of the media, and there's certain ideological positions. Those ideological positions are being framed in a way, in a so subtle way, that you compel to buy them. First watch them, conceive it, and then adopt it. It does is, it gives you a sheer, simply, it deceives your wisdom. You do not think more. So you said that when you have that kind of programmed individuals or intellectuals, well, then rest assured that you always, sometime you may get what you desire. So they are desiring for this one. It's always, we said in our programs, half full and half empty. You know, I go beyond that they have a half full and they're wasting it. They are just throwing it away. And because of this situation, they cannot produce something intelligent in terms of implementation. We are talking about here, our debate, as I understood, that there are perfect match of what Pakistan Army, our police, our civil law enforcement agencies have rendered tremendous sacrifices in order to save that part where we felt very threatened.
Absolutely, sir. The whole thrust of our fight is focused on physicality. It is focused on actually eliminating terrorists by just killing them.
By touch wood, like we can perform, and this is, but we are doing that. That is a very important factor.
But at the same time, the other aspects, or the soft power that you were talking about earlier, that is completely missing. And until and unless we don't start working on those aspects of our social development, do you think we're going to be able to rectify the situation?
No, we cannot. It will get worse, because look at the small incidents, small events happen. For example, cricket match, or teams are coming.
Right.
The wrestlers are coming. Those who were never on our, people would watch in 70s, 80s on their TV, for example.
Right.
It's in the West, this thing is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. But here, that is, the people have the desire to see it and be part of something softer.
Right.
They are tired of it, seeing the dead bodies, listening to every day, when somebody watches that a young our policeman or a soldier, officer martyrs because of these insane and lunatics. So obviously everybody gets hurt. I tell you that very day or a couple of days, one feels really sad, because when you look at the family, maybe he was the only son, or maybe his son is 1 year old, that hurts.
Right.
And then there are people sitting in their chambers or whatever, they do not care about it. This is the missing. It is like you have a nut and a bolt, but there is one portion is missing.
I think, sir, one of the most important things is a realization of an individual's social responsibility, the duties of...
Very right, absolutely.
So we always focus on the rights of individuals, but we don't really talk much about of our duties and our responsibilities being a part or being a citizen in a country or in a society. Nasarullah Sahab, that is also part of the academia, where you are training individuals who are going to come out of your universities and become hopefully productive members of society. We haven't seen that taking place, sir. We've seen a degeneration of the kind of individuals that are coming, and those who do have some caliber usually opt or try to run out of the country. They seek opportunities abroad because A, they don't have any opportunities over here, or the environment is so toxic now that people find it hard to breathe. Why do you think that is the case?
Yes, actually, I will take back to some ideological divide, where generally what is being taught to us in terms of, one can say, religion, two part, Huququllah and Huququl Ibad. And what Huququllah actually has been projected That may be.
What we were taught earlier
all
in
the
school,
pairs
that
and all.
Hukuk al-Ibad is more important.
Yes.
That's what we were taught.
And what are actually Hukuk al-Ibad? The projection or the understanding of in the academia throughout, if we look into in the primary and all that, we just taught that Hukuk al-Ibad are you have to respect your parents, respect your teachers, and maybe the neighbors, nothing else. Nothing beyond, there is no Hukuk al-Ibad. But look into your own, all the system of the state and the constitution. Everything is Hukuk al-Ibad actually. And that is what is the missing link till now. And Hukukullah is being projected, and on that basis we have various vociferous voices on sectarianism and all that. And
that's an interesting point you've raised, sir, and I want to bring that, move that conversation further in the terms of sectarianism being a symptom or a cause of the malaise that we see in our society. We see intolerance increasing day by day. First of all, this whole idea of having sects in Islam is abhorrent, because Islam has in it, whatever we've been taught and read,
Sure.
strictly stops Muslims from indulging in creating sects. And yet what we see around us, the reality is the complete opposite of what we've been told to do. So why do you think that is the case, sir?
I think that is being exploited by the external forces.
external forces.
No, sir. If you were to come and ask me, what are you? I would say, what is your religion? I would say, I'm a Muslim. But if somebody else has asked me, are you a Sunni? Are you a Shia? Are you a this or a that? You know, what kind of a category of Muslim are you? But for me, that is a strange question. And I would say, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Because there is only one Muslim. There is no Sunni Shia in Islam.
But Waqas, we have this kind of course, your perspective is a minority. We are minority.
But unfortunately, sir, why
And
is it
this is the right thing.
that the right perspective, why is it in a minority? Why isn't it that the truth and the truth, justice, and that which is factually correct and right is not projected? Why is that the case, sir?
I think let Dr. Saab first say something, and then I will definitely add up to it.
Please, sir.
Actually, that the systemic causes and the problems within the system which we have developed over a time. The all institutions, the structures of the state and all which are built up, they are most often protecting something physical protection is required, and that is most often is being focused. We are not really developing or have any type of infrastructure where we can build the morale of the people, the human values among the people, the ethics itself, which is being taught in the West in the primary education. But we have linked that ethics with religion, and quote unquote ethics has been out from that, and only Hukukullah is in that. And that is, I think, the problem, the basic problem from where. And the second, when we're talking about till 79 we were all fine, and after that what happened, all that. Yes, if we look back really what was happening in 79 or in mid-70s in Afghanistan, PDPA, Parcham and Khalkhan, what they were really
They were a
trying
very
to
advanced
implement.
and progressive society in Afghanistan.
What we are seeking now for Afghanistan, or America is seeking for Afghanistan, the democratization, was not happening at that time.
It was rather very
Rather very
indigenous.
easy.
Absolutely, and it was doing rather well before it all went to pot, as they say. Rana Sahib, would you like to add something
Yes,
to
I
what
will
Nasarullah
actually.
Sahib is saying?
I think this confusion of, as we say, sectarization of the society, of our society, and many other societies.
Are the ulama, the ones who are supposed to teach Islam and educate the masses, why is it that they indulge in sectarianism? Why is it that they cannot tell them the real message of Islam, which is that there are no sects in Islam?
That was exactly I was about to say. The combination of multiple identities and ideological positions, these two are very metaphysical. You cannot really encroach on it. You cannot say that they are something, you cannot see it. But as soon as you act because of that, then you can say, fine, you are this person. In this case, those who held the authority and power to motivate and cultivate the masses, they were they actually ideologically got corrupted.
So do you think that's a bigger problem over here?
It's a very big problem.
And it's not just with Pakistan, it's across the world.
Across the world.
If you look at the society in the US,
If you remember,
they also find people to demonize. For example, there was this McCarthyism was one of those aspects.
you see the
where you had
orange
people
parade
were,
and
you
this
know,
and Catholics and
demonized by saying that, hey, he's a communist and, you know, kill all the communists. So it's the same problem with the human psyche.
It's a mentality of the insecurity and the multiple identities.
Or the white supremacists that we see today.
The Nazis,
It's exactly
neo-Nazis.
or the Nazis,
Neo-Nazis,
neo-Nazis, fascists, they're all the same people.
Actually, they are some same people. But on our ground, our religion is very clear, as you said, that it prohibits in indulging. And those who consider themselves authority on Islam, they may have been trying, but the issue is, if they start trying really, they will be jobless. So that is my take on the leadership. I'm not giving a general statement. There are many extraordinary Islamic scholars in Pakistan at the moment doing their utmost to undermine all kind of sectarianism. Because for me, anyone who lives in this country.
But what about the role of the government, sir? Doesn't the government have a responsibility? Nasarullah Sahab, why don't you answer this question, sir? Doesn't the government have a responsibility, because since they say that it is the Islamic Republic of Pakistan and the Islamic principles and tenets should be, or rather are part of our constitution, then why not also make sure that sectarianism can be eliminated from the country? If the government has the will to do it, it is possible. It is not an impossibility, sir.
No doubt, it's not impossible because actually state is not really seen anywhere in Pakistan. So responsibility is the government. Government is different from the state. So government comes and government goes, the politician and all that for 4 years, 5 years and all that.
Right.
Although they are sitting at the steering of the state.
Right.
But itself state is not strong in Pakistan. The problem being because whoever is coming in terms of a government and a ruling elite, they are powerful on the state, and state is being used for that. So in Western society, or the society with the successful societies and states, state is strong, rule of law is there.
But isn't nation building also a part of the government's manifesto? Isn't it their job? Isn't it their responsibility, sir?
It is responsibility.
To be honest, the government can help a lot. They can do legislation, first of all.
Because they have to govern, and the governance is required.
They're not governing.
That is what where we are lacking.
Legislate and then ensure the implementation of the law and the social justice. You said social justice means provide justice to those who cannot have it, without any,
Or at least follow the laws that we've made.
Yeah, I mean, we have created multiple police systems. We have created given them so many uniforms. We have given them so many mandates. Well, an ordinary citizen goes to a police station. Well, let me tell you, he will get boot out, and then he can do whatever he likes. But in that police station, his honor, his respect, his education, his stature,
not to mention his money,
everything will be dead in the water. Yeah. And it is because, and then one phone call from anyone comes, and the things reverses. Well, that is to be honest, as a system, it's very shameful.
That is the problem, really.
That is very problematic, and it's also a very shameful thing, because as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us everything. A land, a territory, beautiful country, beautiful people. We cannot manage to put together a peaceful society for us. That is, we can blame Saturn, we can blame any damn country in the world, but we are not doing our job right.
Well, at the end of the day, it all boils down to that. And it's been a pleasure, sir, talking to you. But
absolutely.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. And this is a subject that we could probably write tomes and books about. And still not.
But we appreciate also, you are very active.
I think that it's important that somebody should at least show ourselves. Like the media is also a mirror to the society.
Absolutely.
And I think we should also be able to see the ugly spots that are on our faces.
We must.
In order to introspect and to be able to move past that, I think it's important that we first realize and accept our mistakes and our wrongdoings.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, sir, for taking out the time
Thank you very
and being on the show. Well, you heard our conversation, and it is a difficult conversation to be had, but it is an important one. And it seems from after talking to our guests that we need to kind of go back to the drawing board and start from scratch and break it all down and start building it again brick by brick from a very and try to create a solid foundation for our future generations. With that hope and on that note, it's goodbye.